Alright, hello, welcome to a DVD and Blu-ray update video. Basically stuff that I've been watching and buying over the past few weeks, really. Yeah, so we got a lot of random stuff, really, as is usually the case. I'm gonna start by showing you two Blu-rays that I received now, that I'm really happy that I received, because I bought these back in February, if you can believe that, late February. And then it's just taken a long time for them to arrive because of some changes in the import tax system that I've recently talked about a little bit and been annoyed by, and that caused some delays. And now I'm really happy to have these two that I bought from Wow HD. This was the first time I bought from them. I did buy something else that arrived sooner and without me having to pay taxes, but anyway, I bought Scarecrow and the Florida Project, which is really great. However, in the meantime, it seems that my Blu-ray player, my region-free Blu-ray player, these are Region A Blu-rays or Region 1 or A, anyway. It's not working anymore. It seems to have given up. Which is really unfortunate. Or, well, it's not really the player, it's the disc tray. It won't eject, so I don't really know what the solution is. I've tried turning it on, turning it off and on, and I've looked up stuff online, and I've tried combinations of different buttons to push. I don't know what else. I don't know what to do, and it's infuriating because I haven't really had it for more than just a couple of years, 3 years maybe. And it's expensive to import a region-free Blu-ray player, and I don't really have that much money to spend on a new one right now, so I can't watch these. I'm happy to have them, but at the same time, it's frustrating because I can't enjoy them. So there's that. It really sucks because I've become used to watching Region A Blu-rays, which I've been feeling very lucky to have a player that can play any disc around the world, but now I'm back to Region 2 only, which really sucks. If you know what else I can do to try to fix the disc tray, because I press eject and you hear the sounds of the player, but then nothing happens, and then the player starts instead. So the disc that is currently in the player is the only one that I can watch. So let's talk about some Region 2 Blu-rays. It was recently my birthday, so I got a few Blu-rays. I got Twin Peaks, a limited event series. This is season 3, which is great. I do have the original show on Blu-ray as well. I just need to rewatch it because it's been such a long time since I saw the show. I want to see it again before getting into this, and it might take me a while to actually do that. But I now have everything, so I can now have a massive marathon whenever I feel like I have the time. Same thing goes for this, The Wire. I'm gonna be marathoning this eventually. It's just that nowadays with Netflix, whenever I feel like watching a TV show, it's so easy just to put on Netflix or HBO or Prime Video and watch a show on there, because there's always something that I want to see on there, and it's so what's the word? Well, it's just easier. So actually getting a big box set like this and watching is yeah, I don't know, it just it doesn't happen as much anymore. So I really need to feel inspired enough to go and grab a physical release of a TV show these days. But The Wire is I mean, it's on HBO, I can just watch it on there, but I want to have certain shows on Blu-ray. I don't feel the need to have everything on DVD or Blu-ray anymore with Netflix, you know, in terms of TV shows. But certain shows I really do want to own, and this was one of them, and I'm really happy to have it. So whenever I want to watch it, I can. So I've always known about this show, always heard that it's one of the best of all time. It even says so on the thing. So anyway, so those were from my father, and then from my mother, these were they always ask me for a list, so I give them a couple of suggestions. I'm really easy to buy gifts for, because I just give them a couple links to Blu-rays, and I usually get those. Sonic Highways, Foo Fighters. Even if you're not a fan of the Foo Fighters, I think you could enjoy this if you're interested in music history, and the musical identity of each one of these cities. So Foo Fighters, they, for their, when was it, 2014 album, Sonic Highways, they're, by the way, they're a band that I got into a long time ago, and I was a fan of them around high school-ish, but I haven't really listened to them in a long time. It's not really a band that I am that into anymore, but I still like them. And this is a show that I'd heard really good things about. So for their album Sonic Highways, the same title as the show, they went to these 8 cities and recorded one song in each city. And then each one of the episodes is about the musical identity of each city and the history behind the popular genres. So Nashville, of course, we have all this country bullshit, which I'm not really a fan of. In Seattle, you have all the grunge stuff. In New Orleans, there's a lot of jazz and stuff like that. So it's really cool to see a different flavor of each city. And the Foo Fighters recording a song influenced by this stuff, and so it ends up being a really good show. So if you're interested in music, in American music, then this is a good one to watch. There's a lot of stuff that I'm familiar with that they bring up, a lot of which I've tried listening to in the past, some of it not really getting into, but a lot of which I hadn't heard about, which sounds interesting. Anyway, I also got this Star Wars The Last Jedi, finally. I say finally not because I'm a massive fan of Star Wars. I mean, I certainly like the movies very much, but I don't consider myself a fan for some reason. I guess I feel like there's so many hardcore fans of this franchise that I just feel like I don't qualify as a fan, which might sound a bit silly, but that's how I feel. Not that I don't feel like I have the right to call myself a fan. I just feel like I don't know. It doesn't really matter. I do like the movies very much, and I hadn't seen this until now, and I really liked it. I mean, I wasn't too sure about it. It took me a while to realize that. Yeah, I actually kind of really like this, but. And for that reason, like, I kind of want to see it again, because there's just a lot of things going on, and a lot of things that went through my mind when I was watching it. You know, in terms of I'm not sure if this is working. Is this really working? I don't know. And then I'd like to, knowing the movie now, I'd like to go back and watch it again and see if I feel differently about some of those things that I wasn't sure about. But basically, I really liked it. But I can understand some of the criticism that people have given it. Oh, I'm not sure if you noticed that, but the light, yeah, it's flickering. It's been doing that for literally years. I bought this at IKEA like a decade ago, and I remember the guy saying, this is pretty off topic, by the way. I remember the guy saying when I bought it that, you know, this lasts for 10,000 hours, so it's more economic to just buy a new lamp than buying a new bulb when it's when it doesn't work anymore. But it still works. It's just that it flickers now and then, and now it just did. Anyway, sorry about that. Star Wars. No, I think I was basically finished with this. There's a really good documentary, The Director and the Jedi, which is feature length. I read that there was a 2-hour version of that. But the one on the Blu-ray is only an hour and a half, so I don't know if there's a longer version on a different edition or online or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, anyway. Now I guess I'll talk about a few titles that I bought at a sale. One of the local stores, actually the only one of its kind. they sell used DVDs and Blu-rays and games and vinyl, CD, stuff like that. They are getting rid of their movies apparently. So a couple of weeks ago, they were all, they had a few thousand. According to their Facebook post, they had, how many? 15,000, I think it said. 15,000. But they did not have that many. I mean, I know how many I have. I have about, probably at least 3,000. And there was not 5 times more than what I have here. Anyway, there was a lot to choose from. So I took the opportunity to, frankly, make a bit of money, to find some rarer editions and to sell them on. But of course I was also looking for stuff for myself. So I did find a few things, quite a few for my little online store. But also a nice little pile of stuff for myself. So these were, I don't know if I said, but these were all pretty much $1 each. 10 Swedish crowns. Winter's Bone, I've seen this, but it's been a while. Same with this, although it hasn't been quite as long, but The Master. So yeah, Paul Thomas Anderson. Whenever I get around to watching Phantom Thread, maybe I'll feel inspired to rewatch this after that. And the facial recognition on the camera is going absolutely batshit crazy right now, as you can probably imagine. Alright, one more Blu-ray. The Golden Compass. This was a nice find. I hear pretty good things about this. There's a lot of special features that I think I'll enjoy. This is over a decade old now, but I've heard some good things. I've only really noticed that over the past few years that it's actually maybe a pretty good movie. I mean, before that I was just not interested, but now more recently I've started to think that maybe that's one to see. So I was happy to find that. What is this called? The Butcher's Wife. I don't know if this is any good, but Jeff Daniels is just phenomenal. So Crisscross, a Region 1 DVD, so I can't watch it. Yay. Apparently a fairly rare DVD. I really like Goldie Hawn actually. So Coming Home, Jane Fonda, John Voight, Bruce Dern, really good cast. So I'd like to see this, but there's a lot that I'd like to see at the moment. This is the original title for this, so look that up if you're interested in this. But this is about, yeah, I think about 15 years old. It's with Javier Bardem, Spain's Oscar, the one that they submitted, whatever, for the Oscars that year. It looks a bit sun-faded. I'm not sure if it's just a cover or if it actually is. I mean, I'm not sure if it's part of the design or not. I don't think it comes off on camera in the same way. It looks kind of yellowy. I mean, anyway. But yeah, no, this looks good. And then a couple of Swedish movies. This one, I don't believe, I have no high hopes for this. But 6 Points, I always sort of knew about that. It's probably a pretty very average or below average Swedish romantic comedy, more or less. But I always knew about it, but I never saw it. So I figured for that price, I might as well get it. Another Swedish film, and the last one in the haul from that place, is Play, which I was really happy to find. I was actually there about a week earlier and sort of scouted the place just to sort of get an idea of how much stuff they had and how much stuff I could expect to buy. And this is one that I saw on the shelf, and I was really hoping that it was gonna still be there the next week when the sale started, and it was. So I got it, and I've seen it. It's by Ruben Östlund. He directed The Square most recently, and before that Force Majeure. This is really good. It's it's difficult to talk about. Stylistically, I can talk about it. He's filmed this way before with his movie Involuntary. He basically just places a camera and then he lets actions play out without moving the camera at all. And sometimes the angles are very awkward and kind of unnatural in a way, or maybe not unnatural. Maybe that's what they are. They're actually very natural, but they're not cinematic. And that's taken to a more extreme in the other one, Involuntary. But he does do a similar thing with this one. And that also allows for a higher degree of realism, which is anyway, and the actors they're also very natural. So he does a good job at making it feel very realistic. His movies can be a bit difficult to get into, but I do like them, and I did like this. It's one that I had to think about until the end, when maybe I was able to piece a few things together a bit more. But it is one to think about what he actually wants to say with it. Anyway, here we have a medium-sized pile of very random stuff. This one I had pre-ordered quite a long time ago. Coco, Pixar film. I absolutely love Pixar. Yeah, I got the steelbook as always with the Pixar and Disney films, the UK one. I'm not really a steelbook collector anymore, but I do like getting the Disney ones. And this one took a while. I think this was released in the US like a few months ago even. Then it took until May for this one to be released in the UK. For some reason it took a lot longer. But anyway, the film is just incredible, just wonderful. It's so visual, such a visual feast, such a visual achievement, that even a 40-inch TV the screen felt too small. Like, I feel like this needs to be seen on a bigger screen than that, which I've been feeling for a while now. Like, my TV seems to be shrinking. I'd like to buy a bigger one. But anyway, anyway, so great film. I'm really loving what Pixar is doing. This one I forgot to show. I bought this a while ago, Ran. Haven't seen it, as you can see, still sealed. But I hear pretty good things, so whenever I get to this, I'm sure I will like it. I also got in that same, I think these were part of an Amazon offer, like, what is it, 5 for 30 or something like that, I don't even know. But Thelma and Louise, a movie that I've been really wanting to see now for a while, directed by Ridley Scott. Always knew about the ending to this movie, so I knew how this ended, but it didn't really matter. I thought this was really good. I really like road movies, and the fact that they're on the run somehow creates a level of freedom, a feeling of freedom that would have been difficult to achieve without the crime aspect, which is interesting. I guess you really get the sense that they're escaping from something. But there's a documentary on here where they talk about some of the I think it was on here, maybe I read some reviews, but I think it was on the Blu-ray. They discussed some people being not too thrilled with the film and what it says, but I didn't have any problems with it. I really did like it. So yeah, we got so much random stuff. Beginners. Actually, I'll show this along with 20th century women, because they're directed by the same guy, Mike Millis. So this one is his most recent one, which I've had for a while. I might have even shown this before. It just took me a while to be in the mood to see it. But it's a really good drama, good cast. So I like that. I liked it, so I went back and watched this, which I had seen before, but I found the Blu-ray for a pretty cheap price. Now I do like Ewan McGregor, or I have no problems with him at all, but I would have liked this movie to be focusing more about Christopher Plummer's character. He did win the Oscar for this, so I'm certainly not the only one to praise his performance. He just plays such an interesting character that I was more interested in his. I mean, I've seen this movie before. It's just been a while now, so I didn't really remember exactly what I thought about it back then. But now, watching it now, you know, it mainly focuses on him, and the present time in the movie is like a couple years after his father has died, which is no spoiler because that's made clear in the beginning. But so it's mainly about him, and then occasionally you see flashbacks from when his father was alive, and he comes out as gay after his wife died, and he's in his mid-70s, and yeah, coming out as gay. And yeah, he plays such an interesting character, and Christopher Plummer is such a great actor. He really, I feel like the movie should have been more about him than his son. You know, so again, I have no problems with Ewan McGregor as an actor. I just felt like his character was just not as interesting as his father in the film. So I was just wanting. I was watching the film, wanting more scenes with him. Okay. Anyway, it's good though, but I probably prefer 20th century women out of the two. Then this one, I don't even know how long ago it's been since I bought this. It's a Region A Blu-ray, but I watched it before my player decided to start working. Night on the Galactic Railroad. I must have bought this over a year ago, maybe even a year and a half ago. I don't know, but it's been a while, and I don't know that I've shown it. I'm not sure why I haven't. I think maybe I have, but I showed it in a video which I wasn't happy with, and then I don't know. But it's a good anime film for sure. It's a lot to think about, very spiritual, a lot of symbolism, some of which maybe is more clear than others, but overall as a film, it's definitely not one that I immediately knew what I thought of, because maybe one that needs a rewatch, but it's visually very very good. I think that's all for the Blu-rays actually. So here we have a documentary called Behemoth, which I really liked. This was such a good film. It's about how the industrialization of the world is destroying nature, I guess, and how it's also ruining people's lives because it's not healthy, or at least, I don't know, you know, these are the conditions that the workers face in China, at least, where this was filmed. And there's a few aspects to it which I could have done without. I didn't really have a huge problem with it, but the narration, I didn't think that was necessary. I feel like a strictly visual film, telling the story with only visuals, like Koyaanisqatsi, for example, would have worked just as good. But overall, it's some really strangely beautiful scenery in this, even though it's not a happy film. It's a very critical film, but really good. I would say, actually, if you like Koyaanisqatsi, I'd recommend that. There are some similarities. Let's move on with I don't know if this is supposed to be a documentary or if a lot of the scenes are staged, but it definitely feels like a documentary. Which it says here, one of the most enchanting and thought-provoking documentaries of all time. I'm not sure that I felt that. It was definitely good. I've heard people writing, or I've seen people writing very, very positive reviews about this, and I liked it for sure. But it's I wouldn't say this myself. But the reason why I wasn't too sure if it's a documentary or a docudrama or whatever. It's just, yeah, it's some scenes. I mean, it's obviously a lot of documentary footage in it, but some scenes seem to be staged, and some it almost seems to be blending together documentary and staged scenes, which is no problem really. It's just that sometimes when you don't really know what it is you're seeing, you start to dissect each scene, and maybe becoming a little bit too aware of that. It's about a Mongolian family and their camels. It's not really about a lot. It's just an observation. What's the word? Observational documentary, I guess. One of the camel is giving birth to its baby, and then it's rejecting the baby, and then that takes up quite a bit of the film. I don't know if I really said what the film is called. You can obviously read it on the cover, but the story of the weeping camel. I guess that refers to what I was just saying. But it's good. But I don't know. It's not difficult to watch, but for some reason I'm having difficulties appreciating it as much as apparently some other people are. Anyway, we do have one more documentary here, which I do have to say that For the Bible Tells Me So. It's about. I thought this was going to be about a strictly, Christian fundamentalism. But it focuses on homosexuality and what Christianity says about that. And it's certainly interesting, but for some reason my attention was not. What's the word? Well, I was looking at my my phone and my computer for some of it, for whatever reason. I guess I just wasn't as interested in it as I thought I was going to be. Maybe I've seen similar things before. It is very interesting. It's not that. Maybe I just wasn't in the mood for it. Maybe I was expecting something else. I don't know. But it's good, certainly, if I'm gonna be objective about it. It's a very well made and fairly enlightening documentary. Then we just have some random stuff once again. The Draftman's Contract, Peter Greenaway. He's a pretty challenging director. This film is definitely challenging too. I was watching this without subtitles too, which was tricky at times. It took me a while to get into it, but when I did, I was able to understand what they were saying. This is a Swedish DVD, that's why I don't really like watching films with Swedish subtitles. It's just disruptive. But it's really good. It really is good. I don't know if this has a Blu-ray release. I think it definitely deserves a Blu-ray release, but it's definitely a one of a kind. Definitely a thought-provoking and challenging film, but a really good one, and at times very humorous. But again, it was challenging. A few scenes I definitely had to rewind and listen closely to what they were saying. Then we have a film called No Man's Land, which I was really happy to find whenever that was. Once again, an extremely thought-provoking film. The ending, I'm not gonna describe the ending with any adjectives to possibly ruin what happens, but yeah, some ending to this. Really, some ending. But the film overall is really good. Really good. No Man's Land refers to the terrain in between when there's a war and there's the two fighting sides. They have their what's the fucking word in English? Oh god, anyway, where they're fighting from. I cannot for the life of me think of the word. But the place in between that is known as No Man's Land, and this takes place in No Man's Land. and there's a lot more to it. I really recommend looking that up. It's a really good film. Here we have an Icelandic one that I've had for a while too, Noi the Albino. I've tried to get as many Icelandic films as I can possibly find lately. This was good. It's one of the ones that I hear the most things about when it comes to Icelandic films, which is not really one of the countries that have the absolute richest cinema history yet, but there are some gems I've come to understand, and this is one that I've heard about. So I was happy to find this, and it's good. It's about teenage boy living a very bleak and kind of secluded life in a small village. Fairly depressing in some respects, but a good film, definitely a good film. Then we have a box set with 3 Michael Haneke films. These ones, you can just read which ones. I saw The Seventh Continent right after I bought this. Basically when I came home, I found this to my surprise at a secondhand store. And I saw this one right when I came home, because it's one that I've been wanting to see for some time. I heard that it's a comment that's always gonna stick with me. Somebody wrote somewhere that this film convinced me that life is truly meaningless about the Seventh Continent. So of course that made me very curious, and I can see what that what that person meant. Definitely. It has a pretty intense ending. I do have to admit though that I have a hard time recalling the film besides the ending. I don't know why that is. It hasn't been that long. It's been probably 6 months since I saw it, maybe a bit more. But for some reason I have a hard time remembering the film apart from the way it ends. But despite that, it's very good. The other two, they're good as well. They're also good. Benny's Video, however, I've known about for a while, and I don't know what to think. It didn't seem to be as interesting to me as the other two. This one, 71 Fragments, was hard to know what to make of until the end. But it's probably my second favorite out of these. Seventh Continent being number 1, which is maybe odd since I've forgotten the film. But that's okay, because the ending was so memorable, and I remember what I felt after seeing it. So that's my favorite out of the 3. But overall, a really good box set that I was really happy to find. And we're gonna go from that to this. The only reason why I bought this is Mel Brooks. Now, this is supposed to be really bad. It's Screw Loose. I don't really know this guy. He apparently has done a lot of parody films. It used to be a genre that I really liked watching films from, but the more of them that I've seen, the more I realized that they're often pretty bad. This one, I don't know if it's a parody film per se, but you can tell by the cover that it's pretty silly. You know, if Mel Brooks had done dozens of these kinds of films that he had not directed himself, I mean, let's just say that Mel Brooks, he has the reputation he has. It's just that he made a bunch of shitty films for money. I would not have bought this, but because Mel Brooks hasn't really done a lot of stuff outside of his own films, like there are some appearances here and there, but he seems to have been pretty selective with what he has said yes to. Because that is the case, and because I'm such a big fan of him, I bought this. Now again, this is region 1, so I can't see it, but you know, I'm sure I'll be able to watch it eventually when I get another player, but it's gonna take a while. But I don't know if I'm missing out on a whole lot. Let's end with 2 Gus Van Sant movies, Paranoid Park and Restless. This one I wanted to see because I saw Elephant a while ago, and I came to understand that this one is fairly similar in terms of style and subject matter. So I found this really cheaply at a secondhand store. I thought it was okay. I really did not like this as much as Elephant. So I was a bit disappointed by this, with this, anyway. Yeah, you know. Restless I saw a while ago, but I figured I'd show it now because it's the same director. This was a nice film. Mia Wasikowska is really good in this. She plays a dying girl. He plays a boy who, for some reason, I don't really remember exactly why, but he likes attending funerals, and so they kind of meet in that way. And they know that she has a limited time left, and yeah, I'm not gonna say more than that, but it was really touching, and I liked the ending very much too. So yeah, this one was good. This is one that whenever I think of it, I'm kind of I like that. That was a good film. So that's it for now. I do have more to my side, to my right here, but as always, I tend to talk about as much as I feel like I have time for, and then whatever's left I'll just save for a later video. But that's it for now. So thank you for watching, and I don't know when the next one will be, but it's probably gonna be another one of these within the next few weeks or something like that. Yeah, thank you for watching.